going to check if this is all streaming, if it's all correct. What's going on here? Let's see, 1 second. 1 sec. Just going to check if this stream is on. Yes, it looks like it's on. Okay, so we're going through. I already prepped a couple of these lines here. So we got, I just went through a line here. So okay, 1 second, let me just pull this up. The first line that I just looked at is this one. I think this is all streaming right now. Okay, it was this line right here. So after this, and we're just looking at C3 first. So C5 and then taking on B8, which is like a dubious move, but it's still tricky because after rook takes, for one thing, there's like queen A4, but apparently this does not that much after takes. I was a little bit unsure how to continue this, but apparently I think you just do something like this. I'm trying to like not to look at the theory I've put down and just trying to figure this out myself right now. And I think here the idea is we do want to take on d4, but the queen right now would come back, and that's a queen is getting out of this foray here. So we hit it there, drive it out. Now we take here, and after white takes back, now this is really open. So now we can even play e5, and it's a killer move here. The idea is just to really force, because I mean, if you played something like e6, then yes, you're threatening this, but it's not challenging white, so he gets time to try to maybe put up some resistance. But after e5, he has to deal with this. Now we'll move like so now we want to play bishop b4, but the queen is guarding that. So now we bring the rook back, chase it away, and now we could play bishop b4. But there are other really good moves like queen c7 is really good, threatening checkmate first as an intermezzo, and the where I got the theory from was suggesting knight e4 because now after bishop b4 there's no knight d2 because the knight's already there. So this is all killer. So this queen a4 thing is not working. Another thing, but I can try here is like taking, but then I believe here. How do we continue here? I think probably e5. Yeah, it just makes sense. Just and now we're hitting this. The only way for white to kind of justify this kind of play is to try and hold on to the pawn. And now it gets a little bit tricky. I'm guessing the idea is usually to play something like b6, and then even just play down a pawn, I guess, because c3 is really weak. But if b6, he gets in c6. So I remember the theory said something like play bishop d7 first, and now we play b6, not allowing c6. So now takes, and this is something I'm just going to have to remember, I guess. But the idea is we just develop naturally, and now we're just going to play against the c3 pawn down this line. Yeah. Now I'm going to leave it at that. Ideally, I would want to analyze a game in this line, so I'd retain everything, but there's no games in the database, as you can see here. So we're going to look at this line. So we went through, in this position, bishop takes b8, we already looked at in the last one. But here we're looking at what if he just takes right away. And here there are some games, so I'm going to pick one, and then that's going to be the study for today, to kind of solitaire chess one of these games in this line. I find doing that helps me retain the theory and also gives me some idea of like how to play the ensuing positions. So here, knight c6 is theory, where I got the theory from. Now we're turning e5. b4 is just how white could possibly justify this play, because e5 is coming, then he wants to keep c5 protected. But there are other things you can do, like I think knight f3 is usually played here. So now that I see all these games in the database, I'm going to just pick one and kind of solitaire chess one of these games. b4, let's just quickly see how this might turn out. Of course, we're going to play e5. Or no, no, actually, no, not e5. Interesting. So the theory recommended g6. This is just something I'm going to have to remember. The idea is that as soon as white plays b4, he's weakened this diagonal. So now we play g6 at this time. And we're not scared of b5 because I guess knight a5. And then now this is very interesting. I'm not sure how we're going to deal with this. Like, so let's say he plays something like this. How are we dealing with this? So, okay, so knight e4, trying to pick it up like this. Can he protect this? No, he can't. Not really. This? What in the world are we doing here? f6. Okay, so that's going to take some getting used to. But okay, g6 is interesting. So just develop naturally. And this is the kind of thing I'd be scared to play in a real game because you are down a pawn. You just have to trust that your compensation is enough here. b5, knight e5. So knight e4 is a threat. Bishop e5 is one like potential try, and then just castle. And here, let me think. How do I deal with this? Uh, how do I deal with this? Okay, I think it's 8. Okay, so bishop g4. That move didn't even cross my mind. So, okay, so now I guess we're vacating this square so we can hit that pawn. So he tries to hold on to the pawn, but now he's overstretched. I remember the theory said because take, takes, and then now the idea was to get the knight to c6, so we play 6. I remember this. And yeah, now we're good here. And eventually you're just gonna play knight h5, trade off the bishops, bring the knight to e6. Eventually you're gonna round up one of these two pawns. So this kind of thing, I'm gonna have to what do you call it? Spaced repetition. Okay, I'm gonna have to kind of re-go through some of this stuff, the stuff I'm hazy on, for like spaced repetition for a few days here and there, just to make sure it's in my mind. Okay, so what I really want to do though is not look at this line because there's no games in this line. The games are in this line right here, knight f3, and now I'm guessing I would play. Not sure how I continue here. I think a5 usually play. No, okay, right, e6. So I'm gonna have a tough time remembering this honestly. But e6, b4. What's the big idea? a5. Okay, yeah, this makes sense. a5 in this kind of line because here, and I remember this 97. So, okay, so this I'm gonna solitaire. This will be the training for today. Because what's going on here? We're down a pawn, and it's black is supposed to have enough just compensation. So let's pick some game from here. Look at all these black wins in the database here. That's amazing. So let's just pick a random one. Let's choose this one, I guess. Insert it. There we go. And just hope it's not a blitz game. Oh, it's a rapid game, which sucks. Shit. Well, it'll give us some more instructional material, I guess. So, okay, let's solitaire this. Okay, I'm gonna not look at the engine until I absolutely need to. You guys can look at the engine. Okay, so knight e7 was played. What's happening here? The idea was to play knight g6 and then pick up the pawn with the bishop later. So what does white do here? What if he plays bishop d6? That's already scaring me a little bit. What am I going to do here? I think the idea is I would play knight e4. Uh, yeah, and yeah, that didn't. Right, so knight e4. So you can't play bishop d6. Alright, so I'm already glad that I'm doing this because there are things that theory doesn't cover because the theoretician assumes that this is not even a candidate move. But when you're playing over the board and then you're scared of all this shit, it's not good. So it's good I'm thinking about it on my own right now, this position. So that's not scary. Bishop d6 not scary. What else might white try here? What is something like this? What would I do here? I think at this point I would just play this first because it hits it with the tempo. And then when let's say he runs, now I just pick up the pawn. It shouldn't be worse here. Right. Okay, so it's nothing worrisome either. So I guess we're left with something like e3. And I just looked at the engine just now and it said bishop e5 is a move. And once again, what do I do here? I'm not so sure. If knight g4, bishop d4, no, knight g6. Now I'm just curious. I'm just going to play this out. What happens here? So we're trying to take here. Let's say he goes there. This. Do I play queen c7? b6. Queen c6. I should be still better here. Because I think I just checked the engine now. So it likes knight f5, not knight g6. Knight g6 says is alright too though. And then I played queen c7 here, which is, so it says h4, h. Okay, so it's still okay. Like I found a way forward that is still okay. The engine approves, even if it's not objectively the best. Engine recommends other stuff like let's say bishop d7. So let's say and I think the idea is again to vacate the square with the tempo. So I'm gonna remember that idea. That actually makes sense to me. So let's say he plays a4. Now I get to play this with the tempo. Now I'm gonna take. So bishop d7 makes sense to me, and I can play it in the future now that I understand the move. Okay, so this is good. Although now I'm curious why the engine is saying knight f5 instead of knight g6. What's the idea here? So we're still trying to take here. Uh, the only way for him to guard that is to play something like bishop d4. And what's the big idea here? I don't think I want to take because then after c takes, yeah, he just bolstered everything. So that's not the move. Bishop d7, like in the last thing. What does this do? Let's say he plays e3, and now let's say rook c8. And yeah, engine is saying black is still decent. Uh, yeah, this should be okay. Although here now I'm checking the engine, it's saying instead of bishop d7, which is still alright. Although 95, yeah, should be able to take here, no? No, e4. Okay, so this is getting interesting. So this is some crazy tactical shit here. So I thought this makes sense, but after 95, I can't even take here because e4. And the idea being, okay, so I guess if I take here, what is he really going to take? No, he's going to go queen a4 check. Amazing. That's looking ugly already. And if I take there, then he takes the bishop. That's an insane kind of idea. 95, it's amazing. So then what is the engine recommending after this? I wonder, what's the big idea? Is it really 94 or something? Yeah, it's saying 94. Still trying to take here, but then he gets to take this bishop. I guess it's not such a big deal. Hitting this, maybe he plays e3 or something, and then I just take that pawn. Alright, so, okay, I'm just gonna, whatever, it's good enough, okay. So let's look at how the game actually went. I'm not scared of these moves. So e3 was played, and now I guess, well, knight g6 is the idea, but I'm curious if we play it. Because there are other moves, like, so now bishop d7 doesn't seem to be doing as much, because this is already guarded. Yeah, it's not the move. So knight g6 still. And this actually comes with the tempo, because they're hitting this. And I don't think white wants to allow this. So he's probably going to play bishop g3. He played c6, the rapid game after all. But yeah, if he just went back and I take here, I'm not worried at all here. And are there any other ways to guard that pawn? Like, let's say queen d4? I'm not sure what I would do here. I'm guessing... Let's see, queen d4 is a challenging move. So now I just accidentally looked at the engine and said knight takes f4. So now queen takes is not worrisome because I take there. So pawn would have to take. And now I guess I have queen c7. Yeah, right. I can deal with that. Okay, so knight g6. Uh, so he played c6. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, so now what do I do here? So I think the simple one. Okay, I'm not going to look at the engine. Just going to analyze by myself here. So if I take and he takes and I take here, takes this kind of line. Just curious if this is all right for me. Now probably queen b6. I'm not allowing this. Okay, I just looked at the database. My eyes went there, and apparently this is how the game went. Okay, so yeah, takes, takes, takes. This all just makes sense. Queen b6. Although now the engine is at 0, whereas before it was higher. So I'm curious. So here it's saying just take here first, but it doesn't make sense to me because then he takes here and he gets to keep his extra pawn. Right, because then I take here, takes, and now it's... So actually white doesn't get to take that extra pawn because I have an intermezzo. So amazing thing is, I think the Grandmaster also missed this idea. Although the way he played it and the way I thought it's actually decent also. Just instead of queen b6, which the guy played in a rapid game, the engine is saying bishop c5. But of course, I mean, the human player is not going to leave an extra pawn stranded there, especially when there's stuff like this coming. Although, yeah, queen b6 makes sense, hitting this and this. It's just not a very human way to play. Let's say, yeah, queen e2 actually guards everything. But then what? Are we playing rook b8? That doesn't make sense, no. Plays castle. No, knight e4, it says. Anyways, queen b6, decent. The reason it doesn't like it is because I'm not actually threatening to take here because of bishop b5. So actually there is definitely room for improvement. Queen b3. And now if I took here, bishop here wins the queen. So the Grandmaster played rook b8 to deal with this. So now of course he played knight d2. If he took, I take. This is not a big problem at all. Oh no, I'm still not trying to take. So this is still giving me some problems. It's iffy. If I can't take that pawn for a long time, I have to castle first. Then now I'm starting to worry if white can hold on to the pawn somehow. So even though it all kind of works, it's not I. So here I like I like the engine way to play, but yeah, okay. So let's say we go down this path. What happened here? Bishop d6 takes. And here I'm thinking already white could maybe even play rook b1, just to make it even harder for me to take the pawn. And that would be a challenge. Like let's say he played rook b1 here. So rook takes, knight takes, and I was thinking my idea was king c7. But then I guess he's holding on to the pawn, no? No, I'm taking this one though. Shit. So he plays, let's say he plays g3. I go king c7, and engine. I'm just following the engine now. Let's say it's, yeah, I'm doing fine here. So yeah, rook b1 is not the way to continue. Although here, I just took the engines. You can even just take the pawns. This is why rook b1's not playable. So here he has to deal with this. So g3 is, yeah, has to be played. Uh, I'm actually tempted to play bishop a6 here. But okay, he just castled knight d4. Uh, tempted to play e5, but then it's like, why trade off the double pawns here? So let me just keep looking at the chat. I don't want to miss some chat going on here. Okay. Let's put the chat here, just in case. What's going on here? One sec. In this window, I'm gonna there. Okay, put this here. There we go. Now I can see that some chat going on there. Anyways, so how did the game go? So e5 is tempting. It was my original thing, but then I thought why trade off the double pawns? Yeah, Grandmaster played e5, but okay. I was thinking of are there any other ways for me to deal with this? But no, I think the way the Grandmaster thinks is like, okay, like you're in the engine plus shit. Where did we go wrong then? So apparently King d8. In hindsight, it makes sense. Like this, yeah, whatever. So knight d4. So I was thinking like this is already protected. Let's just deal with this shit right now. See, there. Already go here. Like if he took now, I think bishop takes, and it's just gonna be like a equalish kind of. Honestly, white's I think even a little bit better because this pawn is on white square. Like if he just plays, let's say, here, and I take, no, actually, no, but he has to castle first. No, this is not working. Okay, so how does he deal with? He probably has to play knight f3 first. Yeah, this is just not working at all. It's actually a pretty shitty position. So white could have actually taken this and just played here. And the idea is he's going to reload the knight. This is guarded like this, and bishop's going to come here target this pawn. White is already better here. Although I would keep the double bishops to retain something. Let's look at the engine. Uh, and yeah, white is up a pawn, but at least have the bishop pair. And it's hard for him to, like, let's say he goes bishop g2. I'm already at rook e8, and it's already a bit tough. So still, this is not ideal for black. Like he definitely went wrong somewhere. This castle. What if king d8? Let's say we follow the engine here. What's the big idea? Let's say he goes knight d4 now. I think now e5. No. I think we need to drum up play before he gets everything ensconced here. So let's say takes, knight f3, same thing. Takes, and I think rook e8. Yeah, at least we have some play with this kind of stuff, you know? Or yeah, okay, whatever. Anyways, it's a game. It's a game. So how did the game go here? What is Black's big idea here? Is he really going back to e7? No, it's already. Oh no. Okay, right. So I can take here, but he takes. Interesting, he didn't take there. What's the big idea? I think Black just has a lot of play now. So even if something like this, but no, engine says rook e6. Okay, this makes sense. Yeah, just going for play. Although after f5, yeah, what am I doing after f5? Why doesn't it like this? It says knight b3. This can't be so bad. a4. Bishop takes there. Yeah, it's complicated. Okay, so now that it's kind of dynamic position, I think this is where I want to take my time and try to figure things out before I look at the engine or the grandmaster move. Uh, yeah, because these are the kinds of positions where I have a tough time. So okay, so e5 was played, knight here. So let me think of this. Of course, he takes the no. He went bishop c5, knight b3. Now we take the pawn. He took this. I take there. But now I just think it's all right because uh, yes, he gets a pawn. But it just seems like I have a lot of play. Like after knight, so now let me think here. If I go knight g4 and he goes f4, let's say, and then let's say I go here, bishop d3 is not amounting to much, right? Well, I do have this and this. Now I'm already down a pawn. So here maybe f6, but then he has h3, and then but now I get this with tempo. So after something like this, now I can take here. Takes and even something like this should be reasonable. Yeah, and black should be fine, more than fine here. So okay, so yeah, like knight g4, which was played, f4 was played, and f6 was played. So I kind of got the whole thing, the whole idea. And then he didn't play h3. Of course, he took. Okay, then what the heck was my idea if he just took? I didn't see that. No, fuck. Okay, I'm guessing now that okay, what do we do here? So this is where after practice, just kind of reading the situation. Fuck, I just keep accidentally looking at the move. Let's turn this off so I don't keep checking. So he played rook e8, but let's just look at this. What's going on here? He is up. He's up 2 pawns currently, you know? I can get one of the pawns back. This, or this. Okay? I can take here, but the bishop's guarding it. Now I could flick in an intermezzo here. Uh, after which he would probably play bishop d3. And then I'm strapped for a move. Like now after if I take, let's say, then he moves his king somewhere. And I'm not accomplishing that much. Like I have to go knight c4 back or something, but I'm still down a pawn on all these lines, but I think I'm doing okay. So let's check with the engine quickly. I'm not saying this is the move, but if I went here, I think bishop d3 would be played. And then I was thinking now we just take back the pawn, and he would play something like king d2, and then I would knight c4, and I evaluated that I'm down a pawn, but I have play. Now the engine says white has a big advantage in this, though this was my idea. But the problem is he has knight d4 at the end of this, so I misevaluated this. Knight finds a nice home there, and I have no counterplay. So instead of this line, so why did he play rook e8? What happens after rook e8? First of all, you have to think, if the bishop blocks, then this knight is hanging, okay? The king cannot go there. It has to go to here or here. It cannot go there because knight f2, so it'd have to go there after rook e8. Okay, then what's going on? Then I have something like knight f2 to e4 even. Although I would want to take the pawn back. No, I would take here and then go knight e4. So let's see what happens. King d2 is forced. Now I guess knight takes f6, threatening this. Okay, and let's be more patient as I go through this. I have to take my time with this. So now he would probably go bishop e2. And then I'm not. No, he cannot. The knight's hanging. So this is already tough for him. How does he deal with knight e4? He can't. So he would probably play bishop d3, or he would want to get the knight out of there. So okay, so this is a challenge. What about knight d6? Knight e4, trade it off and get a passed pawn is one way to play. So knight d6 is kind of scary. Now, what did he play? He played bishop d3. But let's look at what would I do here? I think I'm forced to play it. No. So I thought knight e4, but I just checked the engine. He wants to play rook e6 for some weird reason. Which now makes sense in hindsight because now he has to deal with this threat. But let's say he goes bishop here or there. And I'm not no, white is just crushing here. I just checked the engine. Absolutely crushing. So no, I have to flick this in first. King d3, now we take here. And now we have play here, because so this is the difference. If I took here, he plays bishop d3 and he controls my knight e4. But by flicking a knight e4 first, now it's just devastating. Now I get a lot of compensation here. Enough for the pawn. I'm even turning here, turning there. So yeah, this is black is doing well here. Okay. So rook e6 then. So after knight d6, rook e6 with the idea of kicking away the defender of this. And I just ruled it out because I thought, hey, I'm going to lose this bishop, but that's a very dogmatic way of thinking. Should be thinking more concretely. Kick out this. Yes, he gets the bishop for a knight, but I get this in first. And then I'm turning this, and I'm turning this. Okay. So back here, he played bishop d3, which makes sense. He didn't allow knight e4. He just cannot afford to allow knight e4. So now let's think about this. I'm down a pawn. Still down a pawn. Where's my play? Okay, shit, I keep look at the engine again by accident. It says knight e4. And which makes sense because we're taking out the defender of the knight if he takes. And then I have a bishop versus a knight, so I have compensation despite being down a pawn. And if he leaves the knight there, then I'm guessing, like, where does he go? He cannot even step onto the e file anywhere. Doesn't want to step there probably. Bishop a6 might come. So he's already in a world of trouble here. So let's say he goes. So he went king c2. And now I was thinking bishop a6. If bishop a6, what does he do? If he takes, then I think even taking should give me some play. But let's okay, bishop a6, and he takes, and I take, let's say, with the pawn, and I have play in all the lines. I think bishop a6, yeah, was played. Now here I was thinking, actually, this looked pretty good to me, taking here, because if I, fuck, why do I keep checking the engine? Shit. It says rook e4 is the best move. Which makes sense, actually, because now if knight d4, I can take that, so he doesn't have a square to go to, and if he runs with the knight there, he's going to probably play a4. a4, but then I went back the pawn even. So he's really stuck here, like, yeah, takes, yeah, a4. Now, at worst, I could take back the pawn, but I probably, shit, I keep freaking, okay, he did take. I'm just wondering if this is comes to anything, but I guess not. So he takes back, like here. So now we should be at least equal. King d3. Okay, let's not let's not let my eyes get diverted to the engine. Okay, so somehow black won this game, which is a rapid game, but so I'm thinking a4 now. And this is the place where I should really hone in because this is how you train endgames, right? It's a practical endgame. So if I played a4, thing is he would play, let's say, something like this, and then double up on it, and I might drop the a pawn. But I can always guard it like this. So I think a4 is a good move. Let's just see if there's anything else. If I pile, no, because then I drop the a pawn. So I think a4 just makes a lot of sense here. But he played, so let's check. Yeah, it's a decent move. But then he plays here, rook hb1, engine says, and then takes, and here I don't see myself winning this. So his move, rook c4. Why is that a better move? Now if he played rook hb1, why is this a better? I think the idea is I keep the pressure with rook c. Yeah, I don't let him liquidate one pair of rooks. Now he's the one who has to really try and defend this. I'm not saying it's winning, but it keeps a lot of pressure. I guess, yeah. So let's see what happened here. He did play this in the game, it seems, and then he played this rook there. That's interesting. So he does trade off one pair of rooks. Actually, I was wrong. I guess you don't have many winning chances with the two rooks, so you gotta trade one usually. I don't think we want to trade anything. I think we just keep everything as it is. It's a decent position. So then probably want to play king f7, I guess. Yeah, 8. And we're just gonna slow play this. I don't see anything really major. I don't actually think there's a win here. Okay, I'm gonna shut off the engine just and try to like think on my own here. What am I doing here? There's literally nothing I can do as black, so there's literally nothing I can do here as black. I'm just like stuck. But this is exactly the kind of position you get in a real game. I'm tempted to take one of pair of rooks, but it doesn't make sense because if I take, and I was thinking here, but then he has this. Like my idea is to put the rook behind the pawn, but then I don't get a chance because he plays this, and this is already it's going to be a drawish kind of thing. So this is not the way to continue. And if I can't do that, can I do this? No, that's not working. So I think I'm just really gonna have to shuffle around somehow with so now I'm looking at this. Does this do anything? But it's like hesitant because let's say shit. I'm tempted to play this. Takes. Usually I get in trouble when I do something like this. Okay. And then King F6. And then honestly I would do this. Let's see what he did. He played King F6. Uh and I think it does the same thing but in like a better way without sacking a pawn right away. Because the idea is if you play something like this, I'm guessing I would play H5. Let's just check with the engine out here. I don't know, man. H5's got to be the idea eventually. I mean, it's not that bad, so I think it should be okay. I mean, although, shit, trade one pair of rooks here and King F5 is not really working, I guess. So yeah, this whole sack is too early, I guess. Even here, I might have lost in a real game by playing this. Although engine says it's not bad. Instead of King F6, this was my move, but takes. And I guess if here, I guess we can just hold this. It's not like white is getting anywhere. But I would have like prematurely done something like King F6 and then ended up and then somehow white is the one who's getting me. Yeah, like it's very likely I would have lost this scenario game by prematurely attacking like this too early. And then black is the one getting. There's no need to do this yet. So that's a lesson for me. Just King F6 sets up similar ideas. And now you see white will be the one who will go wrong. Like he could have just left this here. Like, can he just play this? Yeah, I think he should have just played at h4. But I think now one thing black has achieved is that his king is no longer there. So now it takes a4. But doesn't he still have this? It's just a draw now. It's just a draw. So I think if white had left everything, it would be a draw. But he's getting a bit carried away too. So, and I think black should just also not do anything here. Here, a4. Okay, so see, like white fucked up, and then now black is the one who's making progress. Interesting, but just this king f6 move is doing nothing. A4. He didn't have to play that. He could have played. No, he does. Yeah, this was. I don't like that at all. He has to keep the rook there, I think, or even just trade. And then king d4, and white is the one. Like black is not making any progress. This is just a draw. Yeah, white fucked up. He allowed this, and then he allowed it unchallenged, and he gets this in. Okay, now put a rook. Okay, pawn here, here. This is a threat, so I'm not sure what I'm doing. No, it's not even a threat really. But still, how do I make progress? I'm guessing rook c4. This shit, man. This kind of positions are just tough time. If I played this, but then something like this, I'm not getting anywhere at all. It's a draw. Okay, but the engine's saying rook c4, but honestly, rook a6. It's just a draw, man. So what was played in the game? We went here, here, here. And then so again, white is just getting carried away. White is trying too hard to play for a win when he could have just taken the draw here. So it's very interesting. It's not like black was winning this game. I mean, earlier he had an advantage, but later on, it's more that he just did nothing, and then white hung himself. He's getting carried away. Now my king actually has room to go up. Like this now, this draw idea is not even working that much. So he played g6, which is not listening. Okay, stop looking at the engine. Shit. Okay. Played g6. This move makes sense in principle because the more pawns you have on the board, the more winning chances white has here on the king side. So you want to trade off one pair like that. Then even if shit goes awry on the queen side, then at least it's a 2 versus 1 end game here, and you know you can draw that. Okay, so of course he tries to keep the pawn. So now when he played g6, he had to be aware of this. But I'm guessing rook f4 should be enough. Let me think here. But the thing is, this is loose as well. Might not even be the only way to continue, but okay, I think this has to be played. I don't want to allow this. But then this is hanging, so he can't even move the rook. So is that even necessary? I think g5. I wonder g5 if that's uh so let's check the engine. I think g5, yeah. Engine agrees g5. I don't need to go here necessarily right away because then this is so I think he should this is fine too. Okay, what was happening? In the game he played g5, which makes sense to me. I don't need to take that pawn right away. But this, I was wondering what happens if he just goes after this one. Let me think about this. So we're still equal pawns. But now I'm starting to think, can I just play a2? And let's say he plays, like, I don't, if he went back, then I'm doing this sort of thing, and I'm keeping my pawns. Although I'm not getting anywhere with that, right? So how do I deal with, I mean, I have, rook b1. I did not see that tactic. Shit. I did not see rook b1 that wins. Fuck, I did not see that. And if this, what am I doing here? Like for one thing, I think even this now is pretty powerful. But it's probably rook here. Yeah, no, look at what did he... I'm thinking here. But it doesn't like this because this controls this shit, so I'm getting that wrong too. It's saying rook f3. And then now rook a3 because I can take it with this one, but shit. Crap, I'm not handling the dynamism well here. Not finding moves, okay. So that's if he so if he takes the rook off this, then a2 sets up some threats because if this, then you have rook b1. If this, now the thing is this is unprotected, so you can even at worst you can go rook f3 instead of going rook a4 right away, and then you always have rook a3 available, and you can take this with that one. But anyways, what happens in the game here? Plays g5, which makes sense to me because he still cannot move this away. This cannot run because you take there. And this one thing here, if he plays this sort of thing, I'm guessing you could play a2 again. Yeah, and again he doesn't have this because of this, and he doesn't have this because now this is hanging. So yeah, so g5, and now what did he went to there. Now I'm thinking, do I need to worry about any of this? Okay, so okay, it's such a tough move. Like if I play g5, I should be ready for this. I don't know what to do here. I think I'm gonna play rook f4. Yeah. So he takes, and now what am I taking here with? I'm not sure. Can I play a2 here? I think I can play a2. No, he took. No, but I think, yeah, engine says a2. Again, because of this, I have this. If this, I have check, followed by rook a3. No, saying rook a3 now this time. And I'm gonna pick up the pawn. Like, definitely black just... Oh, but then g5 is hanging this. That's the difference. g5 is hanging in this line instead. So, definitely I'm not losing, but white is hanging on. But I mean, he was always hanging on. But obviously, he played this. And I think black might even be trying to just keep the tension, not trying to liquidate like in that line. Just so white has more chances to go wrong. So he keeps the pawn there. Now I want to allow my king to come up the board after this check. I don't want to just get perpetual checked. So I think the next move has to be to move this pawn. Problem is he's going to go rook there and pick up that pawn. So that means this rook has to go to f3 now. Yeah. Just so that after this, this is hanging. And this also gives my king squares if this checks. So he goes there. I should have seen this, but I didn't. Crap. That's the one move I just totally did not see. But that messes me up. Shit. Shit, shit, shit. So I mean, this is still like now black has such plans. He's gonna drop the pawn, which means he has to just heal around with that pawn next. But then it's a draw. So he played there, takes there. Okay, whatever. Still a draw. So I wonder where white went wrong. So I think at this point we do nothing. We just go rook there, and then after check we go there, and there shouldn't be much happening. Although I'm scared if the rooks get on the back here like that. So still makes sense there. Yeah, of course white goes for some cheap stuff. And I'm thinking here, probably want to, no, I can't do that. I want to keep this on this pawn. What am I playing here? Am I just going rook, geez, somewhere? I'm actually thinking this is the time to play rook e4. I was thinking rook e4. Pick up the pawn. Why is this not good? White probably has a plan. So I'm looking at the engine now. Rook f1. Okay, let's say I went here. Then probably why is this right? And then in this sort of thing, and then this is there's no way my king is getting out of this. That's a draw. So ostensibly it looks like you take that, but no, you get so much play. So, but then this doesn't make sense either because then he goes after this one. What's the big idea here? So, okay, so what happened here? He went there, there. Thinking, what if he goes here though now? But I guess I can hide out there. There. That's interesting. Like, why didn't you just protect the pawn? Well, because it takes. Okay, so interesting. What's going on here? So by playing this, he's actually let go of this pawn. So I'm curious what white should play here to keep the draw, because now both pawns are hanging. So checking here doesn't help because king h6. Although there's this. There, and then you get to take here. So I'm thinking he should have gone rook a7. King h6 doesn't work because of this. And then you can even just take this pawn with something. Am I gonna take here and get checkmated? Checkmate. No, because there's this. But it's still a draw at least, right? Like compared to what white did. He didn't play rook a7, went here, and now now I stop this check and now this. See, the way he played it, now both pawns are hanging and he doesn't get that check in. So take here. I think white is just really trying to win still. So even though the engine says 0.0, but it's like now white has more chances to go wrong, I think. So here he's really playing for a win. I think just as a reflex, I would go rook back and get some checking distance. Yeah, but that's what the Grandmaster played. Okay, and then here, this is already getting tough for me a bit. I think I have to keep my rook here and just check from the back and push these pawns. And in the end, even if I have to sack a rook for the pawn, these two pawns should be far enough advanced. So I think rook here. Okay, there, you went there. I don't know what the difference is. Okay, so I think I like that. I actually really like that. I think the idea is when the king goes to h5 to hide out in some lines, I think the rook is nice here to be able to bridge. But same idea, to get checking distance. So yeah, he's stopping that check. I want to get my rook behind the pass pawn, yes. And I would like to get a second rook behind the pass pawn, yes. King g6, and again, the idea is I just need to get these pawns far enough advanced so that worst comes to worst, I can sack a rook for the pawn. So no big threats yet. I think now we just push h5, yeah. Keep pushing, and I'm just going to have an idea of sacking the rook, actually. So he went there. I think now black's just winning, yeah. So I'm curious, where does the engine think was the last chance white could have saved this? Rook a7, king g6, rook a6. This is interesting. Like, why can't I just So yeah, the last chance for white to save this was to somehow create a net where white can keep checking black, right? I mean, he thought let's just keep pushing the pawn, but this idea is just doomed to fail. Like it takes so long for white to set this up that I get to push my pawns just really far really quickly. This is like it just plays itself. So yes, he's gonna play. He can't even play there. So okay, so he goes there. I like this because he wants to play g5 without allowing the check. Now g5. I mean, this is not doing anything. It's h. Why did he go there? I think h. This was been sufficient. Rook a8. Huh? What is this? I don't know. But what does this do? Puts him back there. H. Whatever. Fuck it. Enough. This is. I could even win this. And look, check this out. This is classy. This is very classy that he's evaluated. This is gonna win. Very classy stuff. Okay, so I'm kind of proud with how I guessed a lot of the engine lines, grandmaster lines, even the endgame intuition. It's a lot of it. What I'm disappointed with is that a2 thing here, and that king f6. Okay, so a couple of really instructive endgame points here. So here I prematurely bought h5, and that's the kind of thing where I just know in a real game I would have lost the game. Uh, Whereas king f6 and now white ended up hanging himself. Like he could have just kept everything as it is. But king f6, okay, so gotta be patient and slow. Let your opponent mess up. And the other one was after here. I didn't see the a2 idea here. So where was it? It was here somewhere. In a lot of these lines where the rook leaves the thing, I missed this idea of a2 and rook b1. So that was the other point where I had a gap in my understanding. And what else? Here I wasn't handling this so well, so it's good enough. Yeah, somewhere here. Like, so it's interesting how you get to be down a pawn, but you still get so much play. Like you're always hitting this with, or you're hitting this, or and in some lines you're doing this and this. Like you're always putting pressure. Good enough. Here wasn't it. I didn't. Yes, rook e8. I didn't. Uh, I, I didn't read the situation correctly here. Like if this was a speed game, I have to think that the bishop is hit block protecting the knight. So after this check, there is no bishop. King is not going there. It's not going there because of the fork. King d2 is the only move. Like I have to be very quick to read the situation. Then the move plays itself. Like yeah. So that's yeah. So anyways, enough of this. This was good. So that we looked at this line. Knight c6, b4, g6. That's a hard one to remember, honestly. F3. No, this wasn't the line. Which line did we look at? Not b4, right? So knight f3 here. And then we had e6. That's a hard one to remember. Okay, but e6, b4, then we play knight a5 and then knight e7. That's theory I need to remember. And the other one I need to remember is that after b4 here, I played g6. That's such a strange move. That's another tough one to remember. Shit, yeah, a couple of these things. Alright, enough for today. We spent about an hour, I guess.